Welcome everyone to the October meeting of the Town of Newbury Human Resources Board. It is 4:03, let's call the meeting to order. Present are
Diane Doyle.
Mark Gleckman.
John Ferrara.
Anthony Antico.
Lynn Peabody.
Patty Fisher.
Thank you all, everyone is here and accounted for. First order of business is to approve the prior meetings minutes. Diane, as always, thank you for getting those out in advance. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second, let's open it up to any discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Thank you, Ian.
Well, I think, should Patty and I abstain because we weren't here? Have we done that before?
Oh,
That's an interesting question. My understanding is, and I may be wrong here, my understanding is that according to municipal rules of order, that even though you're not a participant in a prior meeting, as long as you have reviewed the meeting minutes that have been prepared and the rest of the group accepts, I think you have an opportunity to vote on them,
Okay.
even though you weren't at the meeting. Does anyone
Okay.
have any experience with that?
No.
No?
I think that's the case.
Okay, so then we'll say
So
unanimous.
if I'm proven wrong, my apologies.
Well, I
We'll
guess
come
we
back
also
to
have
that if
the,
we were-
we also have the ability to watch the meeting,
Right,
yes.
so, okay,
Which I'm sure about.
thank you.
all right.
Next order of business, employee issues. Let me turn to Chief Fisher and or Diane. Anything to report?
I have nothing to report.
Nothing to my attention.
Okay, thank you. Personnel actions and job vacancies, lots to talk about here. Last month, we discussed the fact that the interview process was well underway for a new fire chief, and that at this meeting we would discuss further the progress that's been made, and I'm pleased to report, as I think everyone is probably aware, based on newspaper reports and the like, that the town has in fact, that the select board has in fact chosen a new fire chief, and my understanding is that the contract negotiation has gone well, and I'm not sure if we're officially there yet, but
I don't, not that I've received that.
close, yeah.
I think it's November 14th unless, at the select board meeting, on November 14th, unless they have a special meeting.
Oh, okay, you,
For
to
the
discuss the
appointment.
contract, oh, good, okay, yeah.
He certainly arrives with a lot of credentials.
Yeah, that was, looks like a great hire, so fingers and toes crossed on that. And I just popped in to see Tracy for a moment. I know that a number of the other firefighter positions have been filled, I believe.
I was away a couple days last
I
week, so.
think there were a total of 4, and I think she just told me that 3 of the 4 have been filled, in fact.
Good.
I'm unaware. I knew that there were still 2 openings for firefighter with preference to paramedics that were open. So, but I don't know if, I wouldn't be privy to whether or not they were hiring for
I think that's what she told me
those.
today. I think they're moving, I know she was pleased with the
Perfect.
progress they've made, and I think she said 3 out of 4.
Good.
So, Diane, anything else, town hall, in terms of open positions?
I was just
or-
looking to see, so I think everything else I've already reported on. I think that was really the only one I think that was left.
I know, hold on, I'm looking something up.
When was our meeting last September? I think I reported at the last meeting that Janine Vassalou is the new outreach case manager with the Council on Aging. That was,
Speak up a little bit. I'm sure they-
oh, okay. Janine, I think it's Vassalou, has been selected as the new Council on Aging outreach coordinator. She started, I think, on the 27th, which was a couple days after our last meeting. She's lovely, yeah.
Great,
Yeah, we had her a couple of days ago.
So I think that was the last piece except for the fire chief, but everything else I think we've discussed.
Yeah, so as of 10/23, I've got the firefighter ones. We're looking for the part-time officers with the full-time certification, part-time dispatchers. They're looking for the recycling coordinator, which is a stipend position. The veteran service director, and the highway department is looking for snowplow drivers.
Oh, okay.
I see you posted those on social
Yes.
media, thank you.
Yeah.
Good idea.
The snowplow operators are done on a accounts payable basis, so they're not technically employees of the town,
Okay,
but
Contractors.
thank you for bringing
Yeah.
those up, because with the veteran services, I forgot it's a regional position.
yes, yeah.
And anything new to report on police department?
Nothing new, no.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm not aware of anything in the categories of workplace issues, ethics issues, discrimination issues. Nothing has hit my attention. I assume that's the case with you and, no? Okay. Safety issues, Chief, anything to report there?
Nothing to report there, all is going well, knock on wood. Everyone seems to be following, when they've either been exposed to COVID or not, everyone seems to be smoothly following the CDC guidelines on what to do with that, so I appreciate everyone's effort towards that. And,
Still no protocol changes?
no protocol changes, just still to follow the CDC guidelines, but everyone seems to be doing that and faring out well, so that's all I have to report.
Great.
Good.
Is this the time of the year that the town starts talking about for its employee population, whether it's flu shots or COVID shots or?
We just held a flu shot
You
clinic
did, okay.
last week. I don't know how many people attended, but offered for town employees.
For employees, great.
Yep.
Okay.
Is it mandatory
No.
for employees?
It's not,
No?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been, has it?
no.
Yeah.
Not that I know
Okay, it's mandatory for employees at the hospital
of.
by November 1.
Is that COVID or
Flu.
flu? Okay,
Nothing new on COVID.
okay. RSV, same?
At the age of the same thing, there was no asking for it, I was in the midst of an annual. She just came in and rolled out my sleeve
Yeah.
and punched it out, and I said, what was that? She said, a flu shot.
Wait, too late.
It's hysterical.
Okay, so we're good on safety issues?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The two remaining bullet points on other business are ongoing discussions we've had over the last month or so. I can report regarding possible language changes in the personnel policy. If you recall, that was in reference to the differentiation we had between what constitutes an immediate family in the town of Newbury's bereavement policy
Yep.
versus what constitutes an immediate family based on the nepotism policy. And as we talked about last month, Tracy did ask town council to weigh in on the matter. She's gotten a preliminary note back from them, still waiting for final word on it. But what she heard from town council was that it is not unusual, in fact, to have differentiators in place depending on what type of policy you're referring to. They didn't talk specifically about bereavement versus nepotism, but they said, you know, in any employee population, there may well be. And I think, Lynn, in fact, if you want to share what you passed along to, I think, to Diane and I after our meeting last month about the hospital's policy on that.
Yep, and there's differences in those policies as well. Employment of relatives and bereavement. And so, again, I don't know the history and, you know, who came up with those differentiated groups, but yeah, so.
Right. And I think each entity has an opportunity on its own to decide what language they want to use and how consistent they want that language to be. But again, before we get to that point, we want to be sure that town council doesn't weigh in on it and say, this is specifically why we wrote this part of the policy the way we did 3 years ago or 7 years ago, whenever it was. They may have a specific reason why they use language here versus language there. And once we get that understanding, then we can decide what, if anything, we want to do with it.
Yep.
And again, we don't have any vote on the matter. We could just refer it on to the select board saying that our recommendation would be to keep it as is or change this to that. But again, we're not quite there yet, so.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I think that, and the initial purview was, yes, in fact, that there is differences why,
Right.
but I think what they're waiting for is specifically, I think we had sort of made the recommendation as it related to in-laws.
Right.
Or,
Steps.
steps, I'm sorry, steps.
Yeah.
So I think that's when they come back, I think that's what they're doing.
Right.
They kind of did a cursory look and now they're doing a deep dive, but hopefully we'll get it back soon.
Yeah, I think.
With the
yes.
understanding that our thoughts were to add steps.
Right. And Tracy said she was gonna effort that when I saw her just a little while ago. So I'm sure, well in advance of our next meeting, we'll know exactly what town council's recommendation is on that, so. Okay? And the other piece of ongoing business is the ongoing discussion that we've been having about compensation data. As mentioned in the email that I sent out to cancel the select board, the subcommittee meeting, the MMA system is still, as far as we know, so that we haven't heard from MMA. They've been awfully quiet about when they're gonna start populating that data again.
So I had emailed them twice to say, you know, are we back up and running? Are people entering data? What's the status? And I never heard back
Right.
from them. And then just today, when I was out a couple days last week, but today, just preparing for the meeting, I took a look at just my position, and there's 4 entries, and typically you would see over 20.
Oh, okay.
So it looks as though people are still not entering the data.
Right.
And then as it relates to the salary surveys that we've been asked to participate in, it's not uncommon that they take about 30 days to gather all their data, another 30 days or so to put together the salary survey results, if you will. So I still have not received anything from Marblehead, and I think there was another one that we participated in. So I was hoping that once I got that, I would have a framework, at least that we could sort of look at, but I have not received that yet either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully soon.
Right. And Lynn brought up an interesting point after the meeting last month about the appropriateness of collecting that kind of data. You know, I can tell you that both Diane and Tracy have confirmed that it's fairly standard operating procedure that municipalities share information. Again, the sharing of that information is not what leads to a specific request to change, somebody's position's compensation. It's strictly taken under advisement to see, where a town would sit vis-a-vis its municipal competition, if you will, in a particular geographic area, and that it's done fairly regularly. So, I don't know how else to respond to that. Lynn, if you have other thoughts on it.
So my concern was that if it wasn't a survey that was done through the municipality group itself, I think that that's kind of a nonpartisan or a neutral group, and not that any of these other private ones would be anything different, but I feel more comfortable relying on the municipality survey data rather than these one-offs.
Yeah. Well, what I could speak to is that I think when we got the results, say it was Marblehead and say there was 10 or 12 local communities that had participated in the salary survey over these number of job descriptions, we would then, hopefully, if MMA was up and running, we would go to the site to see if we could confirm the data.
Yep.
And then I was more or less looking at it from the perspective of the structure,
Yep.
the presentation and the structure, but then also looking to not just take, because sometimes they report actual salaries, sometimes they report ranges, but what I would anticipate, or what I was thinking, was to take that salary survey and then go to the MMA website to confirm,
Okay. Yep.
but not just using it as itself, but
Yeah.
using it as a jumping off point so that we could confirm, use the structure, sort of start to map together what we wanted to look at, so.
Okay. Yep.
Councilor Woods? Tony?
That information only available to other towns, accountants and
From the
treasury.
salary survey?
Right, right.
Or from the MMA website?
The MMA.
Oh, the MMA, you have to actually have a login. The town has,
Okay. So they have to approve you.
we have to be a member. We're a member of the Mass Municipal Association. So as a member, you have access to the data. And obviously, if you're contributing to the data, you have access to it. So I think the town has either 2 or 3, logins.
Sign in, yeah, I think it's 2.
I think it's 2, as part of our Mass Municipal Association membership. So it's not open to the general public, in terms of accessing this.
Well, it could be if one of your good buddies says, oh, listen, by the way, I know this guy and I'm trying to arrange a case in court because he owes me money, can you find out how much he earns or something like that?
Well, that is different because salaries are public information,
Well, okay.
earnings are public
Yeah, okay.
information. So
All
I
right.
annually get a request from openthebooks.com, it's a transparency group.
Mhm.
And so what ends up happening is I run a report in our payroll system that tells exactly how much every single employee makes
Okay.
for transparency. So actual salaries, salary information, that's public record. And openthebooks.com annually requests a list of every single employee and what they make.
Is openthebooks.com available to the general public?
I don't know.
Huh.
They do a public records request
Yeah,
in which we're, that's public information,
uh-huh,
So, I think the salary survey gives ranges. It doesn't speak, sometimes it doesn't speak to actual. Do you know what I'm saying? So like somebody wouldn't be able to go to the MMA website and find out exactly how much I make unless I'm putting in the actual. And even then, it's not verified through a payroll system. It's what I'm putting in myself. But if somebody's looking for how much does Chief Fisher make or someone else, they can make a public records request. It's all part of the budget process, it's all public information.
Okay.
I was just wondering how that last point you made might relate to Lynn's question about the appropriateness of, towns sharing this information.
yeah,
I think, if I heard you correctly, typically what you get is not necessarily what X or Y is earning,
yeah.
but what the brackets are,
Mhm.
and then each town decides for itself whether they want to be, whether they need to stay below the midpoint or, so forth and so on. So it's possible that we're not necessarily comparing what a library director in Rowley is making versus what we're paying our library director. It's a bracket, so the range, if the range is from, $60,000 to $85,000 a year, I think that gives you more latitude to be able to scrub that data and decide.
So just, and I dig deep on this stuff, so, apologies in advance.
No
To say
problem.
Raleigh is, 60 to 70 and say Newbury is 65 to 75 or 65 to 80,
Right.
then is Raleigh gonna come forward and say, wow, we're underpaying, and based on this, let's raise our pay scale
Right.
for this position, and so then, and I am putting up my hand to the attorney next to me and saying, price fixing or something, just, managing your wages based on what others in similar areas,
Right.
might be paying for that.
One of the other factors in that is how long has the person been in the position?
Oh, sure, there's a
So,
whole,
there's
a
so
whole-
many different,
Yeah.
so.
But if you have that wage range, like, say 60 to 70 and then 65 to 80, say, you can assume that somebody that's been in the position 15 years is gonna be up towards this end of the pay scale. So, it just,
Or
there's so
not.
much, there's so much going on with wages and comp,
Yeah.
just always, not currently, but just always, what is it based on, what kind of education, what kind of experience do they have coming in, all of those things, and that's where you come up with where to place them on that wage scale. But, it's always been, for me, in the places that I've worked, if we have any private kind of salary survey data, we might look at that, just for interest, but not base our compensation survey activity, on that, because we're not sure that that's the best place to rely on it. Like, you look at the American Hospital Association pay scales, and maybe that would be similar to municipal
The
pay
MMA,
scale.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, So, just a word of caution,
Yeah.
not that we can't use that for,
Right.
for, as we're doing the work and compensation and, looking at all available tools that we have in our hands, that's a good thing. But what is this
Well,
Marblehead? Is that a,
Or did I say Marblehead? I thought Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester
Okay.
by the Sea. So they're just doing a salary, so they've hired an outside consultant to do the work that sort of was requested here.
Yep.
And they have companies out there that will do this,
Yeah.
for hire. So they're looking at their compensation and they're gathering the same information that would be available through the MMA, but I think there's a little bit more of a deep dive in terms of benefits, you know, and alike. So I think that's the one thing I was gonna say is, when we first started this conversation, we may get salary ranges across the board, but the compensation package is a total.
Sure, total pay,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we go into contract negotiations too, you get the idea of where like-sized communities and job descriptions are, but it's one factor
It's a
in a
starting point.
series
Yep.
of other things to consider, you know, what percentage does the town pay for their
Right.
benefits, how much paid time off do they get, there's all sorts of things that factor into it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not the sole,
Yeah.
It's a jumping off point.
It's not a
It's-
straight
it's just-
wheelbarrow full of frogs,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different there's a lot of moving parts that go into, you know, the compensation,
Yeah.
so.
So, kind of, I, you know, have an apology at the beginning of any of my compensation, points or discussions, because, I mean, I've lived this stuff for so long, as all of us have, you know, and, so it's near and dear to my heart.
I think one of the things about this board is everyone brings a different perspective,
Right.
and you certainly bring a different perspective than we do, so
Yeah,
it's always
And-
appreciated.
And any caution you offer based on years of experience doing this stuff is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
So, no apologies necessary.
okay,
So I guess at this point, I'm gonna probably email them again and see where they're at, to see if they're opening it up.
I assume a lot of people are yakking at MMA at this point, it's been
Yeah,
almost 2
yeah.
months. And, you know,
I wonder what the holdup is, did they say?
They had a-
Are they understaffed like the
I
rest of
don't
the
know,
world?
they said a technology issue, but,
That's a long time to have a technology issue.
yeah.
so, I
Blame-
CC'd
Tell
Mark.
me,
Blame it
what
on
do
the
you
software.
think?
I CC'd
Yeah.
Mark on the email with no response, so, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
we're getting there.
we'll follow up.
Yeah, I think compensation is very interesting. I mean, you're talking about people's livelihoods, you know, and what are we basing it on? You know, you have this real interest in being a police officer, or being a firefighter, or being, you know, a tax collector, you know, whatever. And so how does that pan out as far as your education, your experience and things? And I think, you know, the best job that we can do when we gather our information and kind of scrub it, I think that, you know, that serves us and our community well.
No question. And, yeah, and one of the, I guess, has been a blessing for many years now, perhaps a bit of a curse, is that, you know, the town of Newbury, we talked about this before, was blessed with a number of long-time, you know, senior level employees who were, you know, in place, doing fabulous work for many, many, many years. You know? And so what happens is that, you know, when people leave, and then you go to the market to see what it will cost to replace that individual, sometimes you get surprised.
Yeah.
And we haven't had to face that for quite a while, and more recently we have, and so this isn't a code red, but it's just a good reminder that, you know, it's important for any entity, municipality or not, to be able to be current with what market forces are. And, you know, I mean, clearly there are restrictions, especially in a municipality, but you do the best you can, and you need to do that best based on good data. So
Yeah.
that's where we are. Anything else on that subject?
no?
Does anyone else have other or new business that they'd like to discuss?
No?
Seeing nothing, let's look at our calendars for the next meeting. November 17 is the Monday after Thanksgiving.
27,
Oh, I'm sorry, the 27th, sorry.
it's okay.
So at least at this point, how do folks feel about the Monday after Thanksgiving? Are folks going to be around for that
Yes.
long
Yeah,
weekend?
I'm here. Yes.
Town hall is open, right, the following Monday, no issue?
Yep.
Tony, John, that good?
So far,
Is it not? So let's plug it in for
Tony,
27.
27.
27, Monday, November 27th, that's the fourth Monday in November. We will all be well fed, hopefully, coming in that week, that Monday. Lots of leftovers.
or sound asleep.
Yeah, hopefully,
Tryptophan, right?
Tryptophan will be through our system by then.
I'm looking at December, just kind of looking ahead. The fourth Monday is the 25th. So what would we do in that case? Because
Well,
I'm
in-
sorry, but I'm not gonna be here on the 25th at this meeting.
In years past, we have decided either to go the week prior,
Uh-huh,
well, you could go the week prior.
Can't do the
of
week
course-
after.
Of course, the week after, yeah,
Yeah.
or, you know, if in fact there's nothing critical on the agenda, there's always the potential to skip the the December meeting, depending on when Christmas falls, so.
I will not be here the week prior, Monday,
On the 18th,
right, that whole
Okay.
week I'm out,
okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we hold on that?
yep,
That's a good point. Why don't we hold on that and see how far we've gotten on these other two subject matters? See if we have input from town council relative to the language, potential language changes. And Diane can report on what, if anything, else is happening with MMA data or other data. And then we can make the decision, you know, either at the November meeting or shortly thereafter. Is that
okay, and if we do have anything back from MMA, we could do a subcommittee
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
meeting.
And
Yeah.
then skip the monthly meeting.
Yeah, and there's no trouble with my communicating with everyone if it's strictly for the purposes of scheduling a meeting. Does not upset any open meeting laws. We're not
Good.
discussing anything, we're not voting anything, we're strictly scheduling a meeting,
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Okay.
okay? So let's hold on December for now,
Great.
with an understanding that we will either confirm a new date, or a different date, or no date for that matter, just for the December meeting in November, or if anything breaks prior to that, I will let people know.
Perfect.
Fair?
Okay.
There?
All right.
Okay, seeing no other discussion, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? We are adjourned.